I mentioned the Bobby Petrino story, that it's a local story now. It'll become national if some of these text messages, the content of them become public. If there are pictures, videos, then it becomes a national story again. Right now, they need a replacement for Bobby Petrino. What I was curious about is the Freedom of Information Act. All of these text messages, you can now get his phone records. Is it because he's a state employee using a phone that was issued from the athletic department? But it seems like we can find out an awful lot about Bobby Petrino if we want to. Clay Travis, radio host on 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. How are we getting all this information here, Clay?
It's because he was dumb enough to use a university-issued cell phone to make all of these text messages with all of his mistresses and people who were clearly not associated with the football program. If he had just, he made $3.6 million a year, Dan. If he had just gone out and paid $3,000 a year for his own cell phone plan to send these text messages and everything else, would not be able to review those under the Freedom of Information Act. But because he's a public employee and because he's using the phone provided by the university, that's subject to Freedom of Information Act disclosure.
What about the content of these text messages? Is it a matter of time before they're released?
Yeah, and I don't know. This gets kind of interesting because it gets into how long do the text messages stay within the University of Arkansas system. Usually large entities have their own kind of document retrieval type policy. For instance, if you send an email, it's never going to die. I mean, they'll keep them for years, which is how litigation usually ends up revolving around where these emails have come from and the fact that they were sent to begin with. I don't know what the University of Arkansas's policy is on how long their database would retain text messages that were sent. For instance, is there an NCAA regulation that they're concerned about, that they want to have these text messages? If somebody says, oh, you've been contacting recruits too much, that they want to be able to go to it and say, oh, we haven't been, here's our phone records. I don't know how long or how far back they go. Obviously, they still have some because those are starting to trickle out now in the immediate days before he was fired. So they keep those on file for at least a week at a time. How long would they keep them on file? I don't know. But obviously, if you're Bobby Petrino, you're sweating it out right now, and he's just an idiot for not having his own private cell phone that he was, if you're going to have an affair, you're going to chase down women, do it on your own personal cell phone, and this wouldn't be trackable at all.
But following you on Twitter, it seems like you have some information here, that there are pictures. I think you even referred to it as maybe he farved his
I think there's a very good chance of that. I think the question that he has to hope for is that those pictures no longer exist within the realm of the digital recovery, and also that she has not kept those for evidence. And I would be very nervous based on the way this story is going and what everybody's hearing, that this is going to be very similar, I think, to Tiger Woods. I think in the same way that Tiger Woods started, honestly, with that incident about wrecking his car, and people said, wait a minute, this just doesn't make sense. Why are we talking? It doesn't make sense that this whole story, he drove into a fire hydrant in his private gated neighborhood, and he had to be rescued. All this stuff didn't make sense. I think similarly, this motorcycle accident is going to lead to an unraveling of Bobby Petrino's personal life that is going to get dirtier and dirtier as details continue to emerge.
And as far as a replacement for Petrino, odds-on favorite?
It's funny, they released betting lines on odds-on favorites right now, and I believe Gus Malzahn was the leader in the clubhouse. Now the question is AD Jeff Long going to hire somebody right now, or is he going to roll with an interim, one of the three top guys on his staff right now for an entire season, and then go out and see what the market looks like when the year is over? I tend to think he's going to hire somebody, just because I think in this day and age, having an interim for an entire year is very tough from a recruiting perspective. Certainly Gus Malzahn, who's never even coached a game at Arkansas State, but grew up or coached in that area in Springdale, Arkansas, and was already the offensive coordinator under Houston Nutt, be at the top of the list. Garrick McGee, who's not coached a game at UAB. And then there are guys like Skip Holtz at South Florida, who has not done a great job. Guy that I would look at if I was them, and I think is going to potentially end up Charlie Strong at Louisville. He's born in Arkansas, has big-time SEC connections, and has proven that he can win at a high level now as a head coach at Louisville.
Good to visit with you, Clay. Keep fighting the good fight.
Don't farve yourself, Dan. Stay out of trouble.
Thank you, sir. Clay Travis, 104.5 The Zone in Nashville. He's also a lawyer, so just following this, and seemed like he's ahead of the curve here with the information with what's going on at Arkansas.